Hi everyone, this is Doublebyte. I decided to try something different today. What I'm doing is I'm going to do a little introduction to Python and the programming language, and if people like it or if I find it fun to do, I'll make it a series. So, I'm very opinionated about computer science education. I don't like it. I think it's really boring. I think it's very math science focused. I think a lot of people are told, oh, you can't code by other people by themselves, and that's just not true. So, hopefully these videos will help encourage people to learn to code more. Even if they don't want to do it as a career, it's really handy to just know some basic code. You can really automate parts of your life, make yourself little tools, a lot of little fun things you can do with it. So, I have on my screen something called Sublime. It's a text editor. It's very handy for coding because it takes different coding structures and colors them for you. So what I'm writing our code in this. On the bottom right, I have something called a bash console. For those of you on Mac or Linux, this might be familiar to you. For those of you on Windows, probably less so. But this is simply a way for you to interact with your computer without graphics. So instead of clicking on a file to run it, you type in a command. There are a lot of really useful commands, but for now, we're just going to be using it to run our Python code. So, right now, we have a file called lesson1.py. Oh, and one other thing. The reason I have it structured with, upper left, bottom right is because a lot of videos try to make things full screen, but I want this to make it easy for you to have your Sublime window and your bash console either to the side of this or below it, whichever you like. So I'll try this and see if it works. Anyway, so right now, we don't have any actual code written. The header up here is enclosed in triple double quotes, which means it's a comment. Comments are not run by the code, they're just for the programmer. Another way of doing comments is by using double slash. Sorry, not in Python. I've been in Java land, they're different. Anyway, by using the pound sign. So, as you can see by the header, this is just going to be a quick intro to data types. The key idea of programming is you want to do two things. You want to tell the computer, I want to do stuff, and you want to tell the computer, and I want to do it to these things to this stuff. Very basic level. You have stuff, and you have things you want to do to stuff. So this is going to be a quick intro to how to define some of your stuff. Yeah then, I've made a little lesson plan, but I'm probably going to go off script because I can't help myself, so we'll see how this works. Now, the most basic elements of programming that I think we're going to show up over and over again are integers, floats, and strings. So we're going to be putting them in variables, kind of like in algebra. So in algebra, you often saw stuff like x equals 5, y equals x plus 5, therefore y is equal to 10. Stuff like that. Programming, it's similar, but less stupid. So, my integer equals 5. So, on the left side, we have our variable name. On the right side, we have the variable value. In the middle, we have an equal sign. What this means is, we take the thing on the right and put it into the thing on the left. So now, whenever we see my integer, or we use it, the computer will know that means 5. And it's a variable, it can change over time, we can put in different values, but for now, let's prove that this is correct. I'm going to try to explain things technically. I don't want to hand wave anything, but kind of a do as I do, not as I say in some cases. If you don't understand what I'm saying, try out what I'm doing, see how it works, experiment with it. That's the best way to learn to code. So, Python, you can display things to the console, in this case our bash window, by using the print command. This is something that's built into Python. As you can see, it turns red. That usually means it's built in. And we're just going to say print my integer. And we're also going to print type my integer. Okay, what does this mean? I like to start on the inside and work our way out. So we have type, parentheses, my integer, end parentheses. Parentheses always group a thing. And in this case, they group an argument, an input, a lot of different names for it. So, start on the inside. Putting my integer in. So, we're going to do something to my integer. Then we have parentheses, so we know, okay, my integer is being enclosed in something. Then we have the word type, and it's in blue. That means it's something built in. Whenever you see a word followed by parentheses, we're going to be calling a function or a method. These are the verbs of programming. If our variables are like nouns, or the stuff that we're going to do things to, functions are our actions. So in this case, we have type, which is a function, and we're giving this function the variable my integer. Now what type does is it returns a value. Return just means what's our output. What it does is it tells you what type of data this is. So we're inputting 5, and we're going to be getting the type of 5 out, and then printing it. And I'd like to put a blank line after this, so we'll type in print, and then just leave it blank. And that just means print nothing. Nice and straightforward. So, let's save it and see what happens. In order to run a Python script, you type in Python and then the name of your file and hit enter. So, we said print my integer. It displays 5, so we know that my integer is correctly identified with 5. And when we print the type, it says type int, which is, shorthand for integer. Pretty straightforward so far. The next type we're going to look at is called float. A float is just any number that has a decimal point. The computer needs to differentiate because they're stored in different ways, which gets pretty technical, and I don't remember it very well. So, whenever you're using decimals, you need to define it as a float. And let's run this. So there we go. We have our int and we have our float. Why is this important? Well, let's try something. And we'll see if this works. So, what I'm about to show you might give me an unexpected result. And I'll explain why in a second, but I think this will work. So, we're making a new variable, divide these, and we're defining it with an expression, 5/2. So what happens here? First, we run the code that's on the right side. We calculate 5 divided by 2, so we have one thing on the right. And then, like with the other cases, we put it into the left. Now we're going to print the result and print the type of it. Let's see what happens. And let's just make this a little more clear. Speaking of clear, to empty out your bash window, just type the word clear and hit enter. So, print. What's this in yellow? It's our third data type. I'll get to that in a second. And let me keep my code more organized. Okay, this way we can just keep track of what we're doing at each point. Always a good idea. Now let's run this. So, we divided 5 and 2, and we expect that to give us 2.5. Unfortunately, it gave us 2, and it's an integer, not a float. This is called integer division. It removes the decimal from our result, and often we really don't want this. If you're trying to do a program that involves money, you definitely don't want to round off all those cents, because that will add up. So, there are other ways to do this, but for now, we'll just try this out. And there we go. Now we have the expected value. That was a tangent. If that confused you, don't worry about that. We'll get to that later. For now, just know integers don't have decimal points and floats do. Important takeaway. Now let's look at strings. Strings are always enclosed, or usually enclosed, in double quotes, and they're highlighted in yellow in Sublime. These represent words that we want the computer to print out literally. And I'll demonstrate that here. Okay, line by line, what are we doing? We're defining a variable named myString. We're putting into it the variable, the value on the right side. I am a string. We're going to print the phrase looking at strings, just to keep track of what we're doing. Then we're going to print the variable myString, the type of myString, and the words myString. This is just to demonstrate that even if you have a variable name in quotes, it won't print the value. It will print exactly what you put in. And let's see. There we go. We're looking at strings. Our variable is printing out I am a string, and its type is str, short for string. But even if we put a variable name in quotes, it will still be treated literally. So, these are our 3 most basic data types, and we've demonstrated how to print them out. What else can we do with them? We can collect them. Do I want to do that right now? Let's end this lesson here. I'll publish it on my channel, send it to a friend, and see if it makes sense, and get a little feedback before I continue. I think that's a good idea, because I've never done this before and didn't really prepare for it. This was just kind of an impulse decision. Anyway, hope this was interesting and at least a little bit helpful. Feel free to give me some feedback, and until next time, Doublebyte out.